for somebody beginning, what is most important first is it is beginning with feed and not beginning with cows. If you're able to begin with fodder first, planting fodder, and I'm assuming that already the viability examination has been done and it's a go for that investment. Then they go to the structures, then they go to the equipment and the workers. Then cows come to a farm that is already set up. Most common cow that Kenyans have gone for is a Frisian. Because we are not able to do what we call a genetic audit, it's difficult to know whether it's Holstein Frisian or whether it is half Frisian and half something else. But let's say black and white cow is very common. You'll also find the red Frisian, you'll find Eshers, you'll find also Jerseys are also becoming very popular nowadays because there are people who are going for cows that give you less milk and higher butter fat. There are people who are going for smaller cows because they eat less and therefore they can be afforded. And then also the issue of structures. Bigger cows require higher investments in terms of sleeping comfort. When you go to a farm that has bigger cows, when they use mats, you can see that they're having wounds on the hocks, on the knees, and they have dirty legs or dirty udders because that cow is heavy and the pressure points are pressing too hard on the bedding. People go for what we call advanced pregnancy heifer. Now for Frisian, it will depend. If the farm has very good documentation, has a good reputation, and the mothers have a high production of milk, there are farms selling up to about 400,000 Kenya shillings per heifer. Now, I would say the top range breeds, we are having about between 330,000 shillings to about 350,000. In most cases, those are cows that were imported as calves or they imported directly as pregnant heifers from Europe or from South Africa or from other dairy developed economies. However, if you buy from a farmer who has very good looking cows, but they have no documentation, so you cannot be able to confirm the parentage, you can't confirm the top production of the mother, then in most cases, you're going to buy that cow between 180,000 shillings up to around 250,000. So that we can call it a second tier costing. Small farmers willing to sell cows between each other, you can have heifers as low as 90,000 shillings to 120. And that is now the third tier level. Capital estimation, these are the major things. The structure. Yeah, if you're using wood, mixing with a bit of metal because of the feedlots and the cubicles, but then maybe you're using wood for the pillars and for the roofing, the cost can really come down. But perhaps the lowest you can get to is about 40,000 shillings per cow space. But we have barns that have gone to up to about 200,000 per cow space. The other one is fodder and feeds. Growing of the fodder or whether you're buying it, that's a major part of capital. Now we have the other softer cost, the workers, the equipment, a milking parlor, like semi-automatic, mechanical, where people are just putting clusters into the teats and then milking is happening and milk flows into the lines, goes to the tanks. That's an expensive equipment. Then the tanks, then you also have the power, the energy, which is not part of the structure. Maybe the generators, you have freezers, you have coolers, the pasteurizers and so on. That can also be very expensive. We have two types of record keeping. We have what we call production records and we have what we call financial records. For production record, what is important is a milking record. That is what they use to reconcile how much they were paid and how much milk they produced. Then you have the health record. Everybody who treats cows has to indicate which diseases, which cow, what antibiotics I gave or what medicines I gave, and whether the cow is healed or the cow has not survived. Then you have the breeding record. When I mentioned to you about the price of a heifer, farms that are able to record the parentage of a cow, who was a mother, who was a father, when was she born, how long was she growing up to first insemination, up to first calving. That kind of KPI are maintained in the breeding record. And then we have also what we call the calf weight register. After she is weighed at birth, then how is she increasing? It is used to calculate the weight gain on a daily basis. Should we change the ration? Is the calf growing well? Is she sick? Because the weight gain can be able to be a good indicator of healthy growth. We have now the non-production record, which are more financial records. This is where now you register the costs and the revenues of the farm. So if an accountant came to your farm, they're able to check the expenses and the revenues, and I can be able to say what is the operating profit or margins for that farm. There are some cooperatives who are now processing. They have started processing their own milk. That also becomes a market for their own farmers. And they can be able to push that milk all the way to the market and they're able to tell farmers, we can be able to get a good price because our yogurts are going, or whatever else they're making from that milk, or the mala, or fresh milk. Then you also have groceries, or milk bars, or milk ATMs. Those are people who are basically putting up on the street and selling milk directly. And then we have also seen farms who have, like this one now, who have their own processing. So they have the primary production section, but they also have the secondary production section, which is processing. So milk comes from this as a separate business unit and moves to the other business unit.